It's so easy to get down on yourself for not giving 100% to something.
That I have a hard time, like, what else do I do with my friends,
It was a really hard first, 6 months.
I'm just not focusing. Like, I'm in, a whole other world.
About how much of just, a little, Energizer bunny I was all the time. Great.
Okay. Episode 11 now. I changed the name, actually.
What did you change it to?
The Ancestral Podcast.
Oh, okay, rebrand?
I try to build that as, just everything.
Okay. Where did the Gemini name come from? Is that just your star sign?
Me. It actually is my star sign, but that was, completely unrelated. It was more of me and my friend. We're going to start a clothing brand.
Oh, cool.
And we were trying to figure out the name, and I got this tattoo based off of my star sign, the whole two-face thing at Gemini, and we were like, dude, that should be it.
Yeah.
And then that ended up falling out, but he shot the first podcast with me.
Okay.
And I was looking for a name, so
you thought maybe
stuck with
Ancestral. I'm also a Gemini, that's why it piqued my interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When were you born?
May 24th.
Okay, I'm June 14th. Okay, fair enough. Well, episode 11, I'm joined today by Grace, someone I've been very lucky to meet, very randomly, spontaneously.
Super randomly.
Met, but me and my swim form is very grateful that we met you. So, obviously, I think either most, if not all, of our interactions have been in the pool.
Yeah, pretty close. I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe the odd wave, between classes, but it's always at the pool.
Yeah, minus the one biopsych class.
Yeah.
Right. So, obviously, from those things, I've formed a little small image of who I think Grace is, but that's probably going to be wrong. And for anyone who's listening, who is Grace?
Well, I'm an island girl, born and raised.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived here my whole life. I'm a former competitive swimmer.
Okay.
So I dedicated 12 years of my life to competitively swimming. Yeah, it was a lot, but I'm really grateful that I did it because it taught me so many skills that I still use today. And now I'm a coach. I coach and try and share my passion of swimming through younger kids, which I've been really grateful that has exploded in my life the past few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go to UVic right now. I'm studying psychology and biology, and I try and use and integrate some of the stuff that I learned to put it into my job just to make it a little bit better. Yeah.
I love
totally.
That.
Yeah.
No, go biopsych.
Yeah, go biopsych for sure. It's a grind, but go biopsych.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we just get straight into it. I had a few questions I wanted to ask you. So every time we talk, I swear you're always doing something, right? We meet in the pool, and when I was going, I was trying to swim, 6-7 times a week.
Yeah.
5 or 6 times a week I saw you there.
Yeah.
Right? And, besides that, you're coaching for, who knows how many hours a day.
Yeah, a few. I coach about just over 20 hours a week, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm on deck most days.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you on deck most days. You're a student as well. It sounds like you always have one other thing going in the background, whether it's gymnastics or you're climbing or whatever it is. So I'm curious on how you manage to balance all of that together.
Yeah, it's definitely a question a lot of people ask me a lot, and I get a lot of questions how do you do everything, and oh my god, how do you do it all? And I honestly think it just comes down to prioritizing what you think is best for you. Okay. And that's something that I used to struggle with a lot because I was definitely all in or all out. I wanted to be 100% at whatever I was doing.
Of course.
Yeah, just a little bit of the perfectionist of being an athlete and growing up being an athlete, right? Yeah. But the past few years, I've definitely just decided to branch out and try more things. And like you said, I'm trying gymnastics, which has been great. Yeah. I got back into rock climbing. I'm trying to run a bit. Yeah. And with school intertwined and work intertwined, every week I just have to kind of pick my priorities. And so sometimes I know that I can't put 100% effort into training. Sometimes I know that I can't put 100% effort into getting all my studying done. I do my best to make sure I go to class. But I think it really just comes down to prioritizing what you think you need.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. How do you pick what you need at the moment? Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure that out too. Yeah. I'm really a firm believer in do what makes you feel good. Okay. And I know that if I don't do well in my classes, for example, I'm not going to feel good. So I have to think about that. I also know that if I don't move, I'm also not going to feel good. So I need to prioritize some movement.
Yeah.
And I know that if I don't feel ready when I go into work for a session, for a practice, I'm also not going to feel good.
Right.
So I just try and day to day, like, make sure I do what's going to make me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Are you talking like feeling good, like more like mental health wise, or?
Yeah, definitely mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's really easy to beat yourself up mentally.
Yeah.
About.
Oh, dude,
So
for sure.
it's so easy to get down on yourself for not giving 100% to something.
Yeah.
Even if you physically can't give 100% to something.
Yeah.
Because you can't always, for sure.
Oh my God, you can try to.
Yeah, you can try to. If you go 100% in 5 different areas, like, you're going to burn out in like 5 days. So
Yeah.
it's hard to like find a good balance. But some weeks I give more into some things than other things. And I just know that it's going to ebb and flow. And that's the way it is.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Is that mainly from like the athlete background? Like,
Yeah.
how did this come out to be? Like, were you always as a kid doing a bunch of different things?
Actually, yeah, when I grew up, I was almost only swimming. Like, I started swimming with the club that I coached for when I was 7.
Okay.
And then when I was 8, I was doing gymnastics at the time, but only for like half a year. And then I stopped.
I know that.
Yeah, I tried it for a year or so, and it was fun. And then I decided to stop because
Yeah.
I wanted to swim more.
Okay.
So I actually only grew up doing swimming as a sport. Of course, I did kind of like school track and field for like whatever it is, like the 6 weeks out of the year or something like that. But I only had one main sport.
Okay.
So it kind of felt, I had all my eggs kind of like in one basket.
Right.
And it definitely wasn't helpful when I didn't do as well as I was hoping to do.
Right.
So I think I more so like learned from that
Okay.
experience
Yeah.
of like knowing that I can't expect to just put all my like priorities of doing well into like one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, you mean like put everything in, like putting all your eggs in just like
Yeah.
one basket.
Yeah, like
Right.
it's not, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
Okay.
experiencing it and going through it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So is this like I'm curious. I'm trying to
Yeah,
understand your brain a little bit. Is this
totally.
more like like trying to like, set, like, is there one thing that's kind of like that's the go ahead and everything's kind of like backup options, or is this, because from the mental image I'm building, it kind of sounds like week by week it's like this is going and then this is going.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels that way, and sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I haven't made like any progress in this for a while.
Yeah.
So I try and make sure I do a little bit of something every day. Like, sometimes I don't have time for a swim. As you'll see, I'll just like run in, swim for like less than an hour and then get out. But I'm always glad that I did it, because at least I did a little bit. And that helps kind of with the 100% all or nothing feeling, like getting rid of that.
Yeah.
Just doing a little bit, even if I can't do it fully every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's cool. I mean, dude, I do see. It's like sometimes I'm coming in, I'll finish my class, like I can just make that 12:30 swim.
Yeah.
By the way, I hate how McKinnon's structures this.
I know.
It's like the worst timing.
2 hours right when everyone should be having lunch.
Exactly. That's because you guys are taking all of the evenings.
No, we have all the good full time. I know. Every year, it's never going to change.
Every year. But yeah, no, exactly. Like, I'll be running in, trying to get like my little like 45, 50 minutes swim in, and then you're just there getting ready. I'm like, oh, dude, it's kind of like comforting. You know, when I'm like walking into my pool, I glance in and I see Grace. I'm like, okay, nice. Sometimes Misha's there. Sometimes he's not. He's probably busy running 30K.
Yeah, running 30K, biking 100K, doing what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is definitely nice to see like people that I see there every day, and that actually helps me show up too. Knowing that I'm going to see you, and knowing that I'm going to see like other people that I swim with every day at McKinnon, it definitely helps.
No, it's amazing.
Sure.
It's like a little tiny like community.
It is a tiny little community. Yeah, I don't think like it's not spoken of, but it definitely like makes me show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that when I was first getting to the gym for the first time. No, sorry, scratch that. I found that when I started going at 6 a.m. at Carsa for the first time in second year, I like made that my gym time. Then every day you saw the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day it's the same thing. It's like when you don't see someone you saw there for
You're
the
like,
last like 3 months. It's like, oh, where is red shorts?
Yeah.
Or, you know,
wonder where they are today.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
it is a supportive little community.
Exactly. I think I can also like project that a little bit when I'm like not seeing someone. I'm like, oh, wonder what they're up
Yeah, I
to.
wonder what they're doing.
So maybe I like
had a little sleep
that.
in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe everyone else is like projecting that onto me. So if I don't show up, you know, they might be like thinking of me like that a little bit.
That small amount of accountability goes a long way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. How would your because I love the words you've been using, like, you know, accountability, and, you know, we were talking about resilience a little bit,
Yeah.
cool, and everything, and I'm curious, are these like words you grew up with, like something that your parents use a lot, or is there like some point in the life of Grace where you like really dialed down on like personal growth and started learning about these things?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that comes to my mind, honestly, and I'm just gonna I am biased because I grew up swimming, but honestly, the experiences that my club gave me definitely shaped me into who I am today.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't just have swim practices, we also had weight training, and we had a strength trainer, and we had a psychologist, and we had a nutritionist. So all of these like opportunities and all these people that I got to meet definitely like helped shape me into the athlete that I am now. Yeah, and that was huge for me, and I am really grateful also that my coach, when I was swimming at like the national level, he was fantastic. And he definitely like saw a lot of like when he sees potential in somebody, he definitely pushes them, and if you trust him and you connect with him, like, it takes you further. And so I think like all the things you're saying, like accountability and being resilient, like that was just kind of expected as I was growing up. Yeah.
That's interesting, like all from like the swimming.
Yeah, swimming really like shaped my life a lot, and just the experience that I had around swimming with like my friends and my coaches. Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, it was a really huge part of my life. And I know a lot of other like ex-swimmers feel the same way. It just like I spent more time at the pool than I probably did at home. If I'm honest, like we'd have 3 practices in 24 hours, which sounds nuts to some people, right? But it was just kind of like what was expected of us, and we all did it. Like we all showed up. We had to, right?
Yeah. Did you ever do like the training camps, you know, in like Florida? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Go to Florida for 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I traveled a lot for swimming. My last swim meet was in Arizona, actually. So it was like an international meet. It was pretty fun. Yeah, outside. It was 40 degrees outside, but we couldn't actually stand on the pavement. We had to like stay in the shade and wear shoes because it was so hot. So it's just like doing crazy stuff like that and still performing in places like that.
Genuinely, that's really funny. My first girlfriend was a swimmer.
Oh,
so
really?
I was like
cool.
seeing that firsthand. This was back when like I wasn't really like weightlifting like that. You know, I was very teen boy. Like I'll hit the gym sometimes and like took nothing else seriously. So I was seeing this girl, you know, like swim 3 times a day and then go like strength training.
Totally.
And it's just like whoa. So much respect, and especially when I started swimming, dude. It's a hard sport.
It's a hard sport, especially if you didn't grow up doing it. I think it hits a lot. Like, it's a lot more difficult, as I'm sure you can sympathize with.
Tell me about it. I was swimming yesterday with one of my friends who's also planning to do the half Ironman. He just started swimming. I'm like watching him do the same phases as I went through. And it's just like, gosh, man,
it can definitely be a hard like 6 weeks when you start.
Oh, for sure. 6 weeks. Dude, I'm on like month 3, month 4. I think I swam like my first 600 in a row the other day, and that was like the first one. So
yeah, you're getting way better though. I think like Friday when you were swimming, I was watching you swim, and you're improving so much. So
I appreciate that.
Let yourself know that you're making progress, even though if it might not feel like it, you're definitely improving.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. Of course.
So there's actually something I wanted to ask you following the balance question. I kind of forgot. But you know, with all of this, you know, with school, with work, with how do you find time to balance relationships in the mix? Because I feel like that's a very common theme, especially with like kids in their 20s trying to figure out how to balance, you know, a career and school, and then also make time for friends, a partner, whatever else.
I think it's really important to find people that like to do the same things as you. Like, for example, when I'm swimming or running or doing stuff with Misha, like we just like to do the same stuff, so we can hang out and get a swim workout in, and that's like a double, right? Like you're hanging out but you're also training, so I'm doing 2 things. or like just going rock climbing for fun, like still being active. But like that's definitely made a super big difference for me, is like finding a group of people that just enjoy doing what I enjoy doing. Because I think that makes a huge difference, because then you're just able to go on a run and it feel like fun, but you're getting a workout in.
You're getting a workout in,
Yeah.
No, I love that. I mean, that's how I kind of balance my, relationships now. That's something I've been thinking about too. 'Cause it's like, when I want to hang out with someone, I'm asking them to train with me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it
me
is.
too.
It's like, I'm like, okay, dude, I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks. Let's go hit a lift.
Yeah, let's go lift. Let's go on a run.
Let's go on a run. Like, dude, I've been swimming. Come swim with me.
Like, could you imagine if you just asked someone that, like just some random person? They'd probably be like, "What the heck?
Yeah.
You want to go on a run? Are you crazy?" Right?
No, exactly.
So I think finding like-minded people makes a huge difference.
Finding like-minded. I think like there's a lot of ideas on like finding like-minded too, but I feel like that big first step is like being that person, right, who's like doing all of these things, and then it's kind of it's like finding, it's more like attracting.
It
people
is.
See you doing the same things, and then just everyone gets drawn.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's so true. I think with like the drawn thing, because when you're striving to being the person that you want to be, like you're drawing in all this like attention in a good way, because everyone's seeing you doing all this stuff,
Exactly.
Whoa, good for you, like, wow, that's crazy, like all those kind of comments that get dropped kind of all the time by people. They're like, what, that's insane. So I think that's always a good sign that you're doing the right things.
No, truly. And it's like, because then you find that person who's like, oh yeah, did I do that too? It's like, no way. And that's
you're like, awesome, and then you can go swim and it be fun.
No, I completely agree. But I think with this whole always needing to do something athletic thing, I like really suck at doing something not sports related, and that's what I'm realizing now. It's like it's like this need to always be doing something, right? Like, when can I besides opportunities I use with this podcast, where I can like sit down and talk to someone like you, and it's like no phones, no running, no heavy breathing, no waiting till the 50 goes, do a quick lap, and then talk. It's like that. But I'm finding that I have a hard time, like, what else do I do with my friends? Do I say, okay, let's, like, I don't even know what else
let's go get like a coffee. Right. It's just different. I find that like when you start to kind of like branch out from different friendships that you've had for a long time, that's kind of the first thing that I wouldn't say like deteriorates a friendship at all, because you can still be friends with somebody, but definitely like changes who you're drawn to is like what you enjoy doing. Especially when like you said, we're in our 20s and trying to do all this stuff. Like, we don't have a lot of time to necessarily just fit like a shopping trip in, or like a whatever you want to do. That's not maybe athletic, that's suiting your goals.
Do you think that it's like that is a, how would you say, I want to say whole truth, that's not the word, but like a cemented truth, that we don't have time to fit things in like a shopping trip? Or is that something that because obviously I think we think very alike, so do you think that's like a kink in our perception of life, where it's like, oh man, if I go on that shopping trip, I won't be able to swim later? And then is that like something that we need to work on, or is that something that you find is just like a cemented truth, like that has to happen? I definitely think that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like if I go do that, I'm not going to get the chance to swim, or I'm not going to have time to run, or if I go out, that I'm not going to feel like getting up and doing what I was planning to do in the morning. But I think it kind of comes down to like, again, like the prioritizing. Like, when my friends come to visit and they come home from university, I'm not going to get to see them that much, right? I've got a finite amount of time to spend with them. So like my training can give for a couple weeks, and that's okay. Maybe it's not what I want to be doing, but I know that I'm going to be spending time with them, which is enough. Of course. I think that's what I'm really curious. I'm still trying to figure out myself when it comes to balancing relationships.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
It's hard, and then you feel bad because you haven't seen someone in a while, or you haven't reached out.
Exactly.
You're trying to work on yourself, and it's like so many hours in a day, so much mental energy that I have. It's very exhausting. I found that especially when it comes to like romantic relationships as well, is who you're seeing, dating at the time. If they don't fit at least what I'm doing,
to like a T, it's
not gonna work.
It sucks. Yeah, like most of the people I've dated and seen is someone who's like going to the gym all the time, and the time that I'm seeing them is when we go to the gym together, or when we
exactly
do things like that. Do you find that's like the same way with you?
Yeah, I think that if you aren't with someone who isn't, like you said, gonna fit your lifestyle, that it might not work unless they just get you and they get it and they're okay to let you do your own thing.
Yeah.
But still at a certain point that kind of leaves out like, I don't know, that kind of leaves out like wanting to connect with them and do things with them.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm curious, how have you found like dating for you when you're doing all of these, like, you know, when you're running, you're swimming, you're coaching, you're going to a swim meet?
Yeah, for weeks. Yeah. It's definitely difficult. My boyfriend Marshall, he definitely like, he gets me and he gets it, and so having him understand what I'm doing is good because he really does let me do my own thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah Totally.
Cool.
That's really useful.
No, I love that. So I want to touch a little bit on the coaching aspect of things, and you know, I liked what you were telling me when you walked in here, or maybe that was on the podcast, maybe I'm like combining the two, but you're talking about how you enjoyed just like living through the kids and like seeing the kids perform well.
Totally.
I'm curious, like, you know, what got you into coaching, you know, what you enjoy most about coaching, just like how coaching is for you.
Yeah, coaching, I started coaching, or I guess helping coach when I was pretty young. I was like 13, and I was just really interested in doing that kind of thing because I really liked working with kids. I'd been babysitting and stuff, and I liked swimming, so I thought, you know, spend time with kids and spend time in the water. So I started like assistant coaching our Learn to Swim program when I was 13. And then I did that for about 5 years. I coached through like the Learn to Swim program, and then 13 to I guess 18. Yeah, I coached like the Learn to Swim program through our precursor to the competitive program.
Yeah.
And then the last I guess this is my 4th season, I've been coaching the competitive program.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years I've been like the head of the development program for the club. Yeah.
Head of the development club.
Yeah.
Slight flex.
Yeah, it's really cool to say that, and like the past 2 years I've been really trying, I guess the past year I've been really trying to own it as like that's my title, because I am the head of the development program now. So it's honestly, it's been like the best thing for me. I think like I look forward to going and coaching every day.
Yeah.
Like there's no time where I feel like it's like a chore to go.
No, of course.
I always want to go. But like when I started coaching the competitive program, it kind of like coaching like exploded for me. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Okay. It's just it's so rewarding, and it's so like bucket filling. Like if you put in more, you get more in return because they're getting more out of it, and then they're happier and they're performing better. Yeah. So it's a very positive cycle.
Okay. Are you a big kids person?
I like working with kids a lot. For a while, I'd considered being a teacher just because I really enjoyed being with kids. Okay. But I've learned that I really enjoy being with kids who want to do things. So,
wait, what do you mean by that?
Like kids that want to perform in sport.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like they're not just like at school. I feel like some kids you end up kind of babysitting a little bit. Like teachers end up babysitting, but being with a kid that wants to perform and is there because they want to learn more about the sport and they want to improve and they want to get better. Yeah, that's a really those relationships are really great for me that I have with the swimmers. Yeah.
No, that's so cool. Do you kind of like weird left hook type of question, but like, are you looking forward to like being a mom? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of people have asked me that, like my relatives have asked me that sometimes, and I don't know if I'd ever like have kids myself. I definitely go back and forth quite a bit about it, just because of various different things, like the state of the world, like finances, like time, all that kind of stuff. I know that it's so rewarding, and I do really love kids. My brother actually just had a baby like less than a year ago.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, so I've got a nephew. He's 11 months old. He actually turns a year next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's super sweet, and that's kind of giving me my baby fix.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like working with kids, and I really enjoy it. Being like at the pool and coaching, but it's a lot different than like raising them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's like that's a weird time right now too. Like I know what you're saying. The whole I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, finances, time, state of the world. Like, do you want?
Totally.
I see that. I see that in anytime I see like a social media post about kids, I'll see that in comments like, oh, how can you have kids with like the way the world is
Yeah,
today?
with the way the world is right now. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's like an interesting opinion to have.
Yeah.
I had I was talking to someone I was working with this morning, and he's the first. I have like a very select few guys, usually the ones that I hang out with now, we're all on the exact same like-minded wavelength. Like, I'm so excited to be a father. Like, I'm so excited to be a dad.
Yeah.
But so most of the guys I hang around with are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So someone I was working with and talking about for the first time, he was the first guy I ever heard. He was like, dude, if I could have a kid right now, I would. And I love that. So that's just why I asked you. I'm really curious. Because especially like now, I feel like it's very mixed answers.
Yeah. And I've gone back and forth, like, man, that's how what you said about having a kid right now.
Yeah.
I felt that way for the past kind of 2 years prior to this past year. It's kind of just this past year that's changed my opinions. I think it's also a little bit my lifestyle. Like, I think about the amount of freedom I have right now. And like my freedom to go away on weekends and take my swimmers away to competitions or go be a team manager and take kids to trials for 10 days.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I can't do that if I have an infant with me, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I think if I did decide to have kids, I would probably do that later in life.
Right.
Yeah. So I could still kind of ride the wave out of coaching and
like independence and freedom.
Totally.
Yeah. No, that's a great opinion. That's great opinion. That's a great point. Like, I love that opinion.
Yeah.
A lot. I don't know. Just a fun topic that I just.
Yeah, it's funny how some people are really adamant right now about not having kids. They're like, I would never even think about it.
Right, and that's the point I wanted to mention. It's like, at the same time, I'm 21. You're
21 as well.
21, yeah. So, dude, the brain doesn't even form until 25.
Yeah, so
it's like that. It's gonna ebb and flow, just like you were saying. It's gonna constantly change, and it's. I heard this quote on a podcast I was listening to today, but it's if something was a straight line, God didn't design it, man designed it. So it's like something as big as the decision to have kids, that's like ebbs and flowing. It's waves. It's gonna constantly change. Yeah, depending
on your life and your priorities, and they're gonna continue. Your priorities are gonna continue to change through your 20s. So it's kind of hard to make a full-on decision right now, but
dude, like what, 3rd year, 4th year into university, kids at 24, non-negotiable. No room.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. Yeah. It's so funny because so many of my friends are just people that I know or knew growing up, are having kids and are getting married, and I think about that and I exasperate that to my dad. I'm like, this is crazy. What are people doing? And he's like, well, when my mom was your age, she had 3 kids already.
Yeah.
Right. So the times have changed a little bit. So I think there's still a little bit of that leftover kind of, not expectation, but lifestyle of having kids when you're younger in your 20s still.
Right.
Yeah.
It's it's trade-offs, it's there's freedom, there's independence, there's something you're giving up for everything.
Yes, totally.
Right? And as much as I'd love to dwell on the topics of kids, I could talk about those forever, but I guess in a way kind of staying on the same topic. What were you like as a kid? How was Grace growing up?
I was bouncing off the walls 24/7.
Yeah,
My parents,
I can see that.
Yeah, I still am. Honestly, I just learned how to balance it a bit better, I think. But my parents,
you just bob up and down in the water.
Yeah, I can't stop moving ever. I don't know why I have so much energy, but I'm grateful for it. Yeah. I'd rather that than the opposite. But I was super energetic as a kid. I loved to do stuff all the time.
Right.
My parents didn't really know what to do with me, hence the swimming at a young age.
Yeah.
Swimming 3 times a week at such a young age because they were like, it makes you tired, so get in the pool.
Oh, of course.
Right. I felt pretty smart. I was one of those kids that didn't feel super challenged through school. Okay. I think part of that is also being young and having ADHD. It was definitely a hard elementary school experience because I was pretty bored in classes and I was definitely disrupting other people, but I didn't really know why. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. There's a few points actually off there that I want to go into. So I'm trying to mentally bookmark. I keep telling myself I should have a notepad and write things down. So I'm gonna trust my memory this time. So I'll go with the first one. But we were talking a little bit about resilience in the pool, and you know what? No, I'm gonna pocket that. Side tangent.
Put a pin in it.
Remember that one for
yes,
me.
I will.
In
Okay,
case
resilience.
I forget. But I'm curious about like the whole ADHD aspect. How did you, first, I guess, how did you find that? And then second, did you ever take anything for it?
Yeah, so I when I was 8, I guess you're 8 in grade 4 or something like that. My grade 4 teacher was the one that came up to my parents and was like, okay, you guys need to do something about her because she's just like a menace in the classroom. And once it was terrible. Yeah. Now I feel bad, and it's actually funny. I still know her, and I see my grade 4 teacher quite often, and we joke about how much of just like a little like Energizer bunny I was all the time.
That's a great comparison.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I guess you go through the motions of like getting tested and filling out all these forms and stuff like that. I didn't really know what was going on. My parents actually didn't tell me until I was older.
Okay.
Like they just kind of, I think part of their thinking was that like, you know, when they get your little report card with the numbers on it in elementary school, they were all fine. So they didn't really want to do anything about it because in their brain or in their like point of view, I didn't really need anything.
I see. Yes.
When I was younger, but I was like diagnosed like predominantly hyperactive, if you can't tell.
Of course.
So that's why I'm always so fidgety, which is actually not usually the case. Usually girls are like inattentive, like type of ADHD or mixed. But I was just super hyper and all the time and needed to get outside and move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. When we were talking a little bit earlier, you're talking about, you know, growing up as a child, and then for some reason, like my brain, like I love the topic of ADHD, so I was like checking, like, oh, maybe she might be ADHD, and then you said something, it's like, oh, okay, I guess not. Just close that off, put that away, and then you mentioned like, yeah, that's something ADHD has to do with it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely it definitely has its strengths and its weaknesses. Like people talk about ADHD superpowers. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that like I struggled with when I was younger that I wish I didn't have to.
Of course.
Like it was really hard for me to sit still like all the time, and I was disruptive. And I would like frequently lie all the time. Okay. Just to like keep myself out of getting into trouble. Okay. Another thing that I didn't know is kind of common.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Were you taking supplements like Adderall, Vyvanse?
Not when I was younger. No, I took a like a non-stimulated. Yeah, non-stimulant. I forget what it was called, but it's a common one that they give to children that don't want to go on stimulants.
Right.
I tried it for a bit and it wasn't making enough of a difference, so I just kind of didn't take anything for years and years. Okay. And then like partway through high school. Yeah, through high school, I kind of went back on.
I see. And then
something.
What about now?
I'm still on medication now.
Oh, okay.
Daily. Do I remember to take it daily? No. But I definitely notice a really big difference when I go to class and stuff.
Yeah. Like
it's really hard for me to sit in class, especially like I've got, 3 back-to-backs, hour 20s, and so it's really hard for me to sit still.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally. And just like focus on what I'm doing.
That makes sense. Do you mind if I pry a little bit?
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you mind talking about this?
No, it's okay. It's like, I feel like it's a topic that it's coming up a lot because a lot more people are being diagnosed. And so, it could be helpful.
And that's an interesting point that maybe we'll get back to, maybe not. But how do you find like the differences between when you're on medication and when you're off? Like, because I'm curious, because obviously there's things that I've read, and I'm in like the very more like esoteric health side of things, so I hear a lot about like some of like the negative health impacts some of these artificial things have in your gut systems and all of that super fun stuff. But I'm curious, like, for you and your perception, the way you go about life, like, do you find a difference between when you're on medication and off, that besides like the ability to focus?
What's weird is that my brain gets really quiet, like when I take it. So funny. I feel like someone's just like turned a dial down.
Right.
It's actually the first time I ever took medication, not when I was a kid, when I was closer to a teenager. Yeah. I actually hated it because I didn't know that that's how how people felt. Just like no background noise, right, in your head all the time. Besides that, I definitely noticed that I am a lot less, like, I move a lot less, and people will ask me if I'm okay actually sometimes.
Because they don't see you like.
Yeah, because I am not bouncy, right? I'm just kind of like, I'm calm, and so that's a big difference. I prefer not to take it.
Yeah.
I try not to, unless I know that I'm going to have a really hard time with something, like if I'm giving a presentation, or if I know that I'm going to 3 back-to-back classes or something like that, then I will. But I really prefer not to, because I like my personality and who I am when I'm not medicated.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and that's kind of what I was curious about hearing, because I hear like the term like zombified a lot with some people who I've met when they take, especially when they're ADHD. Yeah. And they take like, you know, something that just like wipes them down.
Drastically reduces the hyperactivity.
Yeah.
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah.
The difference that I other people, I guess, notice. I don't notice a difference in me bouncing around, but other people definitely do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I'm trying to imagine like meeting you at a swim and talking to you where you're just like leaning onto the wall and just like holding a conversation. I can't picture it.
No,
like,
I'm just always moving
talking
around.
To you, Grace, is like you like blowing bubbles in the water like mid-conversation.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the midday swims were so good for me last semester because I could go do a class and then swim.
Yes.
And then when I went to my afternoon classes, it was like perfect.
It wipes you.
Oh, it's great.
It's amazing.
It's great. Yeah. I'm focused and I'm tired.
Yeah.
A little hungry, but focused and tired.
Right. I love that. I was very like underachiever in most of school, maybe even like till now. You know, I was like grade 6, 7, 8, 9. I got my first D in grade 5.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like grade 9, I graduated with apparently an 81 average, just enough to get the Alberta Rutherford scholarship.
Yeah.
But I had like all my options were in the high 80s, and any like core course was in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, like that carried on to university. And as soon as I got to university, like it's like a little further back in like junior high, I was falling asleep in all my classes.
Yeah.
You know, I was like the junior high kid who fell asleep in every class. People were like taking photos of me. It's like, you know, what
why is that? Were you a night owl?
No, well, I think a little bit in high school, just like boy night owl, like playing video games, you know, scrolling TikTok, all that stuff. But in high school, I started falling asleep in like every second period course, and when I got to university, it was like every class. And this was until 2 years ago, and I was trying to figure out why this is the case, and that's when I started experimenting with things like nicotine. And I started studying with nicotine, and all of a sudden, I was laser focused. Yeah. And I could pop the stimulant, and all of a sudden, my brain felt still like very sporadic. I always tell people when we're having conversations, I have a very divergent brain. That's why I'd love to talk about anything they'd love to talk about, because I've probably hyperfixated it.
Yeah, totally.
So I was trying to figure out why this is the case, and I was talking to my parents about it. They were like, yeah, we think you've been ADHD since a kid, but we didn't want you to get like, you know, medicated or anything.
It's like exactly what happened with me, basically.
Right.
Like they just didn't tell me growing up.
Completely.
Because they just didn't think that it was relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm still not diagnosed, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to get a diagnosis or not, because I don't want to take medication. Honestly, it would only be to get the government grants.
Yep.
But so I've been self-learning with inattentive ADD and reading up on that, and one of my favorite books right now is called, it's right here actually, The Drummer in the Great Mountain.
Okay.
And it's a book about navigating adult ADD. And once I started doing that, and it involves things like doing exercise before my classes.
Totally.
You know, all these little things that you've been mentioning, and this is why I bring it up, like all these little tiny things like supplements have been a huge part, nutrition has been a huge part, but exercise in specific, you know, going so on helpful. That midday swim right before all my classes, it's like I'm wiped, and not energetically, but like I'm focused. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm not daydreaming in class anymore. I'm like listening to the teacher. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, it almost feels like when I exercise hard, I honestly feel like I'm giving my brain like a bubble bath. Like it just sharpens it. It really does. I'm just ready to go when I finish doing something. Yeah. Yeah. I'm
curious about like the AD, like the HD. Like is it because when I'm in class, like I'm just not focusing. Like I'm in like a whole nother world where I'm, you know, filming something or like, you know, planning what I'm doing tomorrow. Yeah. And then I snap back and I'm like, oh shit, I should be taking notes. 2 minutes later. Yeah. I'm off again. Is that the same thing, or do you find it's more like I have to go move, I have to get up, this is boring me. Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. Like, I will definitely drift off, and I don't even know how I do it. I wish I could do it automatically, but I sometimes, like, I turn my ears off. I don't even hear what the prof is saying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't want to do it in class, but there's other times where I wish I knew how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I can't automatically. But, yeah, I definitely just am always tapping, moving my legs, or, like, tapping something or fiddling with whatever's kind of nearby. I do have like permission, as most people do with accommodations at UVic, to get up and leave and go on a walk in my class, but I'm kind of afraid if I do that I won't go back, so I try not to do that really. Sometimes it's helpful to just leave for 5 minutes, especially if it's like a longer class, and just like walk up the stairs and back. But it definitely shows like what you're saying, like when I'm trying to hold a conversation, especially in the water, I'm just moving back and forth, and
which, like, I bring it up, and I think I make fun of you a little bit in the pool, but like I love that. Like, I think it's so cool. Like, for one, it's personality, right? It's just like, I can see that, and I can make fun of you because that's Grace. That's your personality.
Exactly.
You're the person who's blowing bubbles when I'm trying to talk to you.
Doing flips. Whatever I'm doing.
Flips. But also, it's like, I was gonna say, I guess they're still intertwined. That's just who you are. Like, it's just part of it. Do you find, like, even while you're doing that, you can still hold a conversation, or do you?
Oh yeah, totally. I definitely was, like, growing up, I definitely, like, was subject to the, like, you're not looking at me, you're not listening to me, which I found super hard growing up, because I was listening. I was just, looking down, doing something else, or fiddling with something, or just not making eye contact. And they automatically assumed, like, you're not listening, because most people, when they're trying to listen, they just look and listen.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's also a big one, is that, like, and now that I'm coaching, I don't pry with that, because I know some kids are listening and they do get it. They're just like, they're not looking at me. And that's fine.
No, of course. So leading up, following that kind of, and we've talked about this a bit, but I'm curious what the future looks like for Grace. Like, what do you have? Are you the type? You seem kind of type A, but do you have, like, a 10-year plan? Is that?
Yeah, I am type A for sure. I'm really competitive, and I love to be out front doing something first and trying stuff first. What I really enjoy doing is coaching. Honestly, it's like a big passion of mine. I would love to own the club someday that I currently coach for. I think that's a really big goal for me, just because the sport did so much for me growing up, and the club specifically, but just the sport in general. I think it's so important to keep that alive as, physical health declines in youth and stuff like that, and kids are a little less resilient than they used to be. I think just still providing a space for that is super important. That would involve me staying in Victoria, and at some point I would like to leave, so I'm not sure yet, but definitely taking over the club at some point is something I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do.
I think you will. Just,
I hope so.
I think I told you that I get, like, my PCS email. It's just always signed by Grace Macdonald.
It's always me. I'm trying to do the most right now. I am.
Me too.
For the club, for sure. And it's been great working alongside, like, Ian is a really big mentor to me. Though he'll deny it if you ever ask him that, but he definitely is a huge mentor for me, and working alongside some other people, and like our general manager, and seeing how the club is run has been really, really valuable for me. It's been really nice to, like, see them take the time, and I feel really appreciated to have them take the time to teach me all these things about the club.
Dude, that's awesome. You mentioned if you leave Victoria, is there somewhere you have in mind? Like, you said you want to leave at some point. Is that, like, leave and go off to, like, Banff, or is that leave and go off to India, or is that?
I don't know. It's more so, honestly, like, I'd say, like, societal or outside pressure. People just always say, well, you got to get out of your hometown, right? I mean, I love it here, and it's wonderful. I think living somewhere else would give me great experiences and great opportunities.
Of course.
But I've built up such a big community here that I don't really want to leave just yet. Like, I have so many people that are surrounded with me here that I just love, and that I get the pleasure of working with and learning under and stuff like that. Like, I have a great community here. I have no reason to leave.
No, I love that. That's a very interesting perspective.
To
hear, because I've had this, like, I want to say like dream, whether it's like a dream or it's like a calling or it's, you know, something. I just want to. I feel like I have to wander, you know, especially like learning more how my brain works. It's just I have to, you know, travel and, you know, cycle everything and be in a new place every 3 months or so. And that's something I figured out over the summer when I, you know, spent time in, you know, down in South America and then over in Europe. Every time like I land in a new place, I land in that new airport, my brain's turned on. It's like, okay, I could really like do some amazing things.
Totally.
And then once I stay in the same place, it just turns off.
Yeah.
And I'm very, like, really excited for that. That's going to be, I think, a really interesting point in my life. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to manage. And, you know, once you start getting to, like, you know, especially romantic relationships, when that's, like, an idea of yours, it gets super tricky. But one thing I think about now is, like, this might be one of the last times where I have community, where I have the same church that I'm going to every Sunday, you know, my Bible study, the people I'm swimming with, the people in the gym, you know, training in all the same places, training others in the same places.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can, like, you can look over. Like, it's easy to look over it in the moments, but it's an amazing thing to have, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, like, it's so nice to have that. And part of it's comfort, and then part of it, not even just from comfort, is also just, like, you know, if you're surrounding yourself with people you want to be like, then, you know, why would you leave if your goals are here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, traveling is so amazing, and it's such a good experience to open, like, yourself up, like, culturally and also just, like,
completely.
in so many different ways. And I think it's super important. Where in South America did you go?
I was in Argentina.
Okay,
Buenos
cool.
Aires. I just spent, that was when I was studying software engineering. Actually, I don't know if we've ever talked about that. But
you said that you were studying software engineering and then you switched to computer science and then you switched to psychology, right?
Yeah. I got a co-op in computer science and everything. I didn't like the co-op. And, you know, I was in, you know, my social circles and relationships at the time where everything just wasn't amazing, you know? And I'm sure you probably had this thought before. It's like, or maybe not, maybe your life is perfect. But when everything started like going downhill and started like going to shit, my language, I was like, I just have to leave. I have to get out. And I was like fully prepared. I dropped out of school. I moved to Buenos Aires and I was like, okay, this is it. This like dream I've had is starting now.
This is what I'm gonna do.
Go Buenos Aires, and I was planning to go to I'm blanking on now, but there's the country right beside it.
I will not be able to answer that. My geography is like not past grade 5 for some reason.
Oh, that's okay. I was just gonna work myself up. Brazil, Colombia, and you know, just experience and live. But then once I realized that, you know, once I landed there and I was there for 2 weeks, nothing changed. You know? Yeah. My mind was still the same. I was just in a different environment.
You're in a different place, totally.
And that's when I realized, like, okay, leaving doesn't actually do much.
Yeah, I think it's really like who you choose. Like, you have to work on yourself no matter where you are. So wherever you choose to be, I'll go with you. Yeah.
So now we can take that pin out the wall. Resilience.
Totally.
Remembered.
I only remembered because you took the pin out.
That's okay. So you're telling me about this, and I'm curious to hear more about what you're saying, because you said you were a very resilient kid. You were paying for everything, you know, driving yourself places when you could.
That was like when I was about 16. So I actually took like a year and a half off swimming. I actually thought I was going to quit fully. So I was 16 and I'd gone to the swim meet in California, and I was just like, I did fine. Like I improved personally, but compared to everyone else, I was like, my gosh, at an international level, is this what it's like? And my group that I was training with at the time, I mean, I was fortunate and unfortunate, I guess, in some ways, to grow up swimming with like a very fast group of people. Like I was swimming with people that were on like the Canadian junior team and stuff like that. So I didn't feel that good about my performances, but looking back on it now, I was performing quite well. It was just, you know, at the time who I was surrounded with. But that's kind of mainly why I stopped. I just didn't feel myself like going anywhere with it at a certain point, right? Like you go pro or you don't. Right. And that was when I was 16. And then I took like a year and a half break, and then I just like wanted to come back. Okay. And I had like an itching. I think it's what it was is that like I wasn't able to use like my drive really in anything else. I had kind of tried other sports. Like I tried to do track and field. I tried to fill my time with other things, but nothing filled me up as much as swimming did, or gave me as much like reward as swimming did.
Right.
So I went back, and it was the hardest thing. Like people say that however much time you take off from swimming, or I guess maybe any endurance sport, but specifically swimming, it takes you like double the amount of time to get back into it.
Of course.
Now it wasn't that long, but it definitely felt that way for sure. It was a really hard first 6 months trying to get my aerobic base back up to training 9 times a week.
I bet.
Yeah, so it was hard, but I came back and I had a really good relationship with my coach at the time.
Okay.
And I did everything that he told me to do, and I listened to kind of everything that he did. And I came back and I qualified for trials, which was super exciting. And so that amazing. Was like the highest level I ever achieved, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
But during that after I turned 17 and was back at swimming, I was paying for it myself. Not because my parents wouldn't, but because I felt kind of responsible to it, because it was like a decision that I was trying to do. It is expensive, and I didn't want that to fall on them really. So I was coaching when I could, and I was paying to swim myself. And so when I didn't do as well, like going back to like the putting all your eggs in one basket, like not only was I coaching so that I could like afford to swim and then using my money to swim, and if I didn't do well, it was definitely really hard.
Of course.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What was little side tangent that my brain came up when you were talking? What was your stroke? Like what was your race?
100-meter freestyle. I was a freestyler.
Respect.
And a butterflyer, but mostly a freestyler. Like that's what I qualified for trials in. Was 100-meter free. So yeah, I like doing sprints. Anything that was like short and fast was totally my jam.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense why your sprint is insane.
Yeah.
I was wondering that. I watched you and Misha go, I was like, that's like twice the speed that I can do it.
I was just raised on sprinting. I did do longer distance races, like my 400-meter freestyle wasn't awful, but I was definitely really focused on just like shorter sprints.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Totally.
What'd you do? I was going somewhere with that. Oh, I had a response. I was saying I remember just my first girlfriend always told me that the 100-meter, 50-meter sprints were like the hardest events, especially in butterfly.
Yeah.
And then distance stuff, but I just completely derailed my train of thoughts. And try to
that's okay.
Pick it back.
Like wondering what my opinion is on the different events. Or no?
No, not really. But
okay.
If you want.
That's all right. I think that the only thing I'll say is that I think why some people say they're the hardest is because there's the least amount of time. Like it's so short, you can't mess up.
Right.
So physically, it may not feel as hard, like aerobically, as swimming a longer race, but in terms of executing the perfect race, it definitely comes down to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm curious, have you ever heard like the term having a victim mindset?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about how that kind of applied to you and your swimming? Is there ever a time where you were swimming earlier and you kind of felt like, like a victim to the circumstances that were trying to figure out a way to phrase this without like...
No, I kind of understand what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think so. I definitely felt sometimes I was like, why am I even trying to do this again if I'm paying for it and I'm wasting my time, right? So I think that was pretty much as close to that as I would get. I definitely just was really hard on myself about it.
Okay.
But I never felt like, oh my gosh, like why do I have to do this and no one else does? My parents are still super supportive of me swimming, and they were really proud of me totally for doing what I was doing. But they're busy people too. They have lives. So I was able to kind of just spend the last couple of years when I was swimming supporting myself, and my coach before I could drive was very nice about picking me up sometimes for morning practice and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
really cool. I asked Misha this question, and I'm curious on your take as well, but have you ever heard the disputes about Michael Phelps with his whole swimming title? Like people wonder why is he the greatest swimmer of the time? And you look online, it's because he has longer femurs, or he has longer toes, or his feet are built like fins.
Yeah.
Everything, and people make all these excuses on why we can never do something like that because my foot isn't built like a fin or something like that. So I'm curious, in your opinion, what do you think really makes great athletes, right, as a coach and from your perspective as an athlete?
It's a good question. I think a lot of it comes from a few things. Like if I had to pin it down to like 2 or 3 things, it would definitely be like being resilient. You have to be able to do hard things and not let that get you down. You have to be able to do hard things and work through them.
Yeah.
You also have to hold yourself accountable. Like if you do something wrong, you need to accept that without letting your emotions kind of, waterboard how you're feeling. Like I see so many swimmers come out of the pool crying because of how they did. And it's hard. Like it is really hard to separate your emotions from your identity from your performance. And some people never do it. And I was a crier when I was swimming. If I came out and I didn't do well, man, I was pissed off at myself, right? And I was like, I'm terrible, Right. So I think being able to separate your identity, like as a swimmer, from your identity as a person, and your worth as an athlete from your worth as a person is a huge thing. And if you can't overcome that, and I think that's something that can be trained, then you might have a hard time.
Yeah.
I'd say those are probably the 2 biggest things. And then you just have to have a lot of intrinsic motivation, and you have to have you have to be self-driven, because you can do it when you're younger. I find that some kids come to practice to see me, some kids come to practice to see their friends,
right.
And then some kids come to practice just to swim hard, right? And it's something that changes as you go through like growing up. As an athlete,
ebbs and flows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll change, and you'll start showing up for your friends, and then you'll start showing up because you want to be there to work hard, and then you'll start showing up because you want to improve, and then you'll start showing up because you want to be better than the people that aren't showing up.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of the progression that I see, at least in like the kids that I've trained with or have trained in the past 2 years that are growing up. Like they show up because they're there for themselves and they want to work hard. At the end of the day, they can't go because someone wants them to go.
Of course.
Right. It's not going to get them there.
That's a great response. That's really good. I was just hearing you talk. You can kind of tell the whole like tying your self-worth to your swimming and your events. It sounds like that's something you worked on a lot. So hearing you talk about it from such like a positive lens, like I think that's really cool. And I want to say like, that's like just good job.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It definitely took like stepping back from the sport. When I had that time away, it definitely helped get a perspective. It helped that I was coaching a lot too, and I was actually assisting my coach who I swam with at the time. Yeah. So that made a really big difference because I was able to kind of see from a coach's perspective how they feel. Because a lot of it also was that I didn't want to let my coach down, right?
Of course.
But seeing how they actually felt and hearing how he talked, about objectively, like about his swimmers was really comforting for me, knowing that, he was there for me and not there for my performance.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, big question, absolutely massive.
Hit me with it.
Okay. So for all, the big burly dudes who are trying to get into triathlon.
Yeah.
And they've been, they run, they bike, probably lift weights, but they've never swam before.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 tips that you give them to get into the sport, get into the pool, and not quit?
First of all, get ready to get humbled a little bit, because it is so hard to jump in the pool and swim as efficiently as if you're comparing yourself to someone who grew up swimming. It takes many years and you are getting there. You are totally getting there. You are getting better, but it takes so many years to efficiently move through the water because if you watch pro swimmers swim, it just it looks easy. Of course it's not, but that's how you know that they're doing it right? Yeah. And making something look easy that's actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. Just get ready for something to be really difficult.
Okay.
And then I think we talked a little bit about this, but in terms of training, your training schedule in general, increase the frequency that you're going. So even if you're fitting in really short swims and you're doing it frequently at first, that's a lot better to just kind of build up your muscle memory, and it's going to help you improve faster.
Yeah.
That's why as you get older, the swimmers train more. And then after that, I would say frequency, and then the intensity of your swims. So trying to add more volume to your swims.
Okay.
And then the duration, I think that's, and then swimming for longer, the duration. So I think that's something that a lot of people do they just get in like once a week and they'll just like bust it out for 2 hours?
Of course.
That's gonna be really hard. But if you're swimming 3 or 4 times a week, even for 45 minutes, you're gonna feel a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all 3? I wasn't you mentioned like a lot on that last point. So
I think like
all combined.
Frequency, intensity, and then duration are kind of the 3.
The 3
yeah.
times. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
when
great.
you're swimming. And then I would also train with a coach if you can. It's not not everyone can, right? But train with a group or train with a coach, because you're going to have someone that's better than you there that can help you out in a group setting. And you're also probably going to have someone there that's a little bit worse than you to make you feel a bit better, right? So it's just about finding like a group that you can comfortably swim with.
Yeah, I agree. Or you can just like hop in and interrupt Grace like I do. But
ask for tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I feel like the public swimmer coach, because so many people stop and ask me for tips randomly.
I know. No, I love it. Like I'll like look up in between sets and I see like 4 people talking. I'm like,
swimming, and someone stops and starts listening and leans over and is like, "This is useful." It's great though. I wouldn't have it any other way. I could talk about swimming all day. So.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's at some point where like the conversation starts to dwindle. I think maybe we're reaching there. So I'm curious, is there anything else that you want to say? Anything, last few things you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. What are some of your goals? Because I haven't really asked you if you have any goals this year.
In terms of what?
I'm sure you have lots of goals and lots of things that you want to do, but maybe, some people, I don't know, do you do New Year's resolutions?
I don't, but this year I built the habit of journaling. Definitely. So on New Year's, I wrote in my little journal everything that I want to accomplish this year, and one of them obviously is the half Ironman. That's like just one of the, gives me a North Star that I can head towards. But
when is that?
That's
in the summer.
May.
Okay, so just before the summer.
Yeah, just before
Is it in
summer.
Victoria?
Yeah, but
that's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited actually. Just the way everything's been going, and talking to you, talking to Misha, especially, and hearing his experiences just like brighten me up and like just lights me up. Like I'm so excited to get that.
He's made some super big progress in the past like year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with his swimming, he's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, right now, I think I'm in the state where I just want to grow as much as possible in all areas of my life. That was my big goal when I came back from Argentina. And if I decide I'm doing school, and you talked about not doing this, but I'm in the state where I want to do everything to the best I possibly can, giving 100 at everything, and I'm burnt out a few times doing that, and I have gotten to the point where I'm kind of in that like torture machine. I'm spreading myself a little bit too thin, but it's about growing as much as I can. Yeah,
and you learn, right? You learn from experiences, and it gets easier. I think that's the other thing that people don't always remember, is that it gets easier to do things difficult things and do things difficultly. Like it gets easier as you do it more.
Completely.
Yeah.
That threshold that you have for it keeps building.
Yeah, it keeps building the more you expose yourself to. So.
Yeah. It's something I've really noticed with swimming recently, ever since I pushed myself to do that first big 600. I realized that I had a mental threshold limit. I was listening to Tony Robertson. Do you know who I'm talking about? Tony Robinson, big motivational speaker.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if it's Robinson or Robertson, but I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
But he was talking about this whole pattern and things with neurolinguistic programming, and I was realizing that I had this 300-meter swimming pattern where I'm I hit that. There's no way I could hit that. I'd be gassed. Yeah. And then as soon as you break that threshold, all of a sudden it's 400 isn't that bad. 500 isn't that bad. 600, all of a sudden you're in the state where you could just keep going. Yeah, that's how I felt. On New Year's Eve, myself and a few people, we swam 10K broken up. We did the 100s, and I still do. I swim 10K a week, and so I thought it was going to be the most difficult thing for me to do, but I finished, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with how not difficult it was. That's awesome. So that also realized that I need to stop going and doing 2.5 kilometer swims and saying that that's good. Dude, me too.
Yeah, right. So I'm oh, that's good enough for today, but is it
Yeah,
right?
you get stuck during like this. At least I get stuck during.
I do that as well.
workouts.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's good. It's the same amount that I usually do, but.
Yeah. What about you? What's the what are the big goals? Are you a big New Year's resolutioner?
No, I'm also not. I
Okay.
think that I don't know. I definitely have I have short-term and long-term goals. Like I have goals for the year and I've got goals that I want to achieve eventually.
Yeah.
But I think I personally feel like I have enough drive that I don't need to set out like a plan. I'm already going to hold myself accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing one of the big ones for 2024?
Big goals for 2020.
Or
Okay.
small one.
I'm gonna start racing again for swimming. And I do have a couple of like masters, like national records, and I'd like to get a few more. So that's kind of a big goal for
I
me.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't told many people.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Super random. I got a few last year, so I definitely want to break some more records.
Dude, that's sick.
Thanks. And then I have little things, like I want to be able to do a standing back flip because I'm doing gymnastics.
Okay.
And a standing front flip. And then I had a goal of being able to do a muscle up. I actually got it already, which was crazy.
Dude, no way.
Yeah, on rings.
On rings?
Yeah, strict.
That's sick.
Yeah, so that was super surprising. And then in terms of like other things, like I want to run the TC 10K this year, even though I'm not a big runner, just to like
TC
kind of
10K.
see.
What's
It's an annual 10K that happens in Victoria. It's like the
okay.
run that people do.
The run, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not many things happening in Victoria a lot, so it's like it happens in April, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well,
Totally.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to really check myself next time I talk to you about swimming, knowing that I'm in the presence of you know, someone quite elite. So
Shh, no one needs to know.
yeah, except everyone's tuning in, which isn't that many. So
It's fine.
yeah. Okay. Cool. Is there one last big remark you want to mention?
No. Thanks for chatting about all of this. I think it's super nice to get together with like-minded people and talk about things. So
Yeah,
totally appreciated the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm happy you can. Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
Of course.